All right, today we're going to be doing my version of pork carnitas simmered in a beer and citrus. Ought to be a good one again. Okay, so to prep the pork, I'm going to just trim any fat and excess off any of them here. Not a lot on these, it looks like, so we should be good to go. Then I'm going to season it liberally with my favorite rub that I make. Let it sit for a few hours, or actually probably just for about an hour, before I start simmering it on the Weber. Okay, I'm going to apply some rub to the pork, rub it in good, and then I'll just put it into a plastic bag for half hour, an hour or so. Get it good and coated on all sides. Okay. Throw them in here, add a little more spice. Shake it up good. Let those rest now for a little bit. All right, so for the braising liquid or the simmering liquid, I'm going to use a whole onion. I'm going to use red on this particular one. You can use yellow or white equally as well. Red is a little sweeter, my preference. Juice of a lime, some orange juice, and a Mexican beer. And I'm going to bring all that to a boil with about 4 cloves of garlic. And then that's what I'll use for my simmering. To mince up some garlic here to put into the simmering liquid. Get it good and smashed. We'll chop it up nice. And I'm going to be setting the temp to brown the pork at about 350. I'll brown them for 5 to 10 minutes, maybe a bit more, maybe 15 minutes, just so they get good brown before I put them into the cast iron skillet with the braising liquid. I'm using Mesquite Weber brand pellets today. Give it a little smokier, a little stronger smoke flavor. Okay, so I'm going to put the pork on the Weber now. Looks like I'm going to have to clean off the cast iron. Got a little bit of ash on it, so I'll clean that off before I put them on. Okay, so I'm putting the pork on. Spread them out a little bit. All right, I'll let those go for about 4 minutes. Give them a good flip, let them cook, and then we'll take them off and put them into the cast iron skillet with the simmering sauce. Okay, they've been on about 4 minutes. I'm going to crank up the heat a little bit. They're not browning as much as I'd like them to. So I'm going to turn them, crank up the heat a little bit, and let them get a little browner. All right, those are much better now that I cranked up the heat a little bit. Turning out just how I want them. So I'm going to turn them. Going to go get the cast iron skillet and the braising liquid, drop the temperature back down to about 300, and then I'm going to let those things simmer for about 3 hours. All right, so I've got the braising liquid in a cast iron skillet on the grill. It's cooling down pretty quick. We're down to about 350 or so. So I'm going to put all the pork in here. Times while they're here before I let them sit. Okay, I'm going to cover them with some aluminum foil. Check them maybe about once an hour, turn them, and let those simmer for, like I said, about 3 hours. Okay, I just took the aluminum foil off. I'm going to check them out here, and they are looking really good and tender, and they are done. So I am going to take them off of here, and what I'm going to do with a slotted spoon is remove the pork and the onions to a tray, crank up the heat, and kind of reduce the sauce here to about half, and then remove it and pour it off and keep it, reserve it to put it back in, because then what I'm going to do is put the pork back in here and get them good and crisp once I've kind of shredded it a little bit. So kind of confusing there, but I will go step by step and show you what we're going to do. I've taken the pork and the onions off, and I'm heating the grill back up to about 550. I do have the skillet still in there, and I'm going to boil about half of that off before I then pour a little bit more out. All right, so I shredded the pork. Going to let it sit here and rest a minute. Going to go pour off the sauce, and I'll return this to the skillet. All right, I'm going to pour about half of this simmering sauce off into a pan here. Maybe a bit more. No, that's about right. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, now I'm going to return the pork and the onion to this and let them get good and crisp and brown. Okay, so I'm going to return everything to the skillet now and kind of crisp everything up. The edge is good and cooked up. I'll use a little extra of the sauce that I just poured off if I need to keep it moist so it doesn't get too dry. And let me tell you what, that's staying hot. Okay. All right, let that cook for a couple minutes. All right, those are crisping up and cooking up really good. This is not going to take very long. I'll pour a little more of the sauce on, keep them good and moist. Stir it up a little bit, and then I'm going to take them off. They're not going to take long here to crisp up. All right, I think they're about done. They're moist, still kind of crisp up. We're good to go. I'm going to take them off, and we'll go serve them. All right, so there's the finished carnitas. We're going to serve it with some salsa and pico de gallo, guacamole, and some crema, all from local Mexican restaurants or markets.